Welcome back, everybody! I have one more idea that might show why he had to open his locker. Maybe it's the blood stain on his jacket. I talked about that before, but I never actually presented it, though. So maybe it is actually the answer we're looking for. I have no idea, but let's just give it a shot. Hopefully it's the answer. If not, boy, I'm going to be in an endless loop, aren't I? Probably not. I don't know. Come on! For some reason, you disguised yourself as Detective Goodman and entered the evidence room. I don't know what the reason was yet. That looks like that's the right answer, then. Sweet! Yet. However, something unexpected happened. Officer Meekins barged in on you. When asked to show your ID card, you pulled a knife on him. However, Officer Meekins panicked, and the white coat you were wearing was soiled with blood. Oh, bloody white coat. You couldn't just walk out like that, so you hid the coat in your locker. ... Not bad, huh, partner? That's a good reason. I didn't even think about that. I'm stupid. I'm really stupid, dang it. Now then, Officer Marshall, are you ready to tell us the truth? Looks like I underestimated y'all. I hope you're happy now, Mr. Edgeworth. ... 2 years ago. If you were only half as persistent then as you are today, we all wouldn't have had to be here now, would we? Officer Marshall, tell the court what you did. All of it. Alright. It seems the time's come. Time for another testimony. Marshall's confession. I had to deal with that day. I couldn't just stand by and let it die. I stole the detective's ID and dressed like him. I planned to take it out the evidence. I wasn't expecting Officer Meekins. I knocked him out and managed to escape. I knew which areas wouldn't be caught on camera. There wasn't any murder in the evidence room at 5:15. So the supposed victim was really you? Wouldn't it have been suspicious if they didn't even find a body there? I mean, considering, all things considered, I don't get it. But there's one thing I still don't understand. Large quantities of blood traces were found on the floor of the evidence room. If no one was murdered, then how could that be? And why was there no blood samples taken? Officer Meekins managed to cut his own hand. My guess is he's the donor. It looked like too much blood for that. Marshall's confession, cross-examination. I had to do it that day. I couldn't just stand by and let it die. Well, I guess with the guilty verdict and all that stuff, I managed to retain my 4 strikes, so I guess that's a good thing in a way, but at the same time, I was still guilty, dang it! Curses! Every time I'm guilty, it's so bad. Well, at least I didn't get any continuous guilty verdicts on top of that like I have on the previous ones. Like, oh, every time I'm guilty, like I have about 7 more accompanying that one, so at least it didn't happen this time around anyway. I had to do it that day. I couldn't just let it stand by and let it die. When you say it, you mean... You even have to ask, partner? The SL9 incident. 2 years have passed since that case was closed. It was going to completely end with the transferal that day. Not if I have anything to do with it. That incident's not over yet. But what did you hope to accomplish by sneaking into the evidence room? The case closed, only the detective who was in charge of it can look through the evidence. I wanted to have a look at it myself one more time. No matter what the cost. I don't care what anyone says, partner. That case is mine. But Officer Marshall wasn't in charge of that investigation. Why does he care so much about it? That day was my last chance. That's why I know exactly why, Phoenix. It's because someone related to him was murdered in that case. I stole the detective's ID and dressed like him. I plan to take out the evidence. Why you disguise yourself as Detective Goodman? If I didn't make it, and it looked like the Goodman was carrying out the evidence transfer, I'd be arrested for stealing evidence, which wouldn't get me anywhere. So you did to fool the security camera. And the detective's ID card. I stole that the morning of the incident. So that really was why Goodman started filing out the lost item report. I returned his ID card. I left it on the floor in the prosecutor's office parking lot. The ID card I found was left there by Officer Marshall. So essentially, you managed to succeed despite your lack of foresight. What do you mean, partner? I mean, the fingerprint-activated lock, of course. No matter how well you disguise yourself, you can't change your fingerprints. Normally that locker shouldn't have opened. So it opened because a rubber glove was stuck in the door by chance. Then, Detective Goodman must have opened the locker before Officer Marshall. Apparently so. Wasn't expecting Officer Meekins, I knocked him out. You pulled a knife on Officer Meekins and tried to drive him off? Let's just say I was a little surprised. I was planning on being in the evidence room for no more than 5 minutes. I didn't think anyone would actually come in during that short time. Officer Meekins certainly is a one-in-a-million type of person. Mistaking a detective for an intruder and demanding to be shown his ID. I'll have to think a little more about his raise this year. When did Edgeworth get so much influence? Yeah, tell me about it. Anyway, he threw himself at me and I ended up cutting him slightly. I'm sorry it had to turn out that way. I mean, knocking him out and everything. By the way, what happened to your knife? Oh, you mean this one? ... I don't know what to say. So what happened next? So you mean the knife he's holding in his hands right now is this exact same knife? What the heck? Interesting. I managed to escape. I knew which areas wouldn't be caught on camera. So you did your research beforehand. Those who go into that desert, those who go into the desert unprepared don't live long, partner. I didn't think it would make a difference, though. Security tape is erased every 6 hours. If all had gone as planned, no footage would have been left. However, you bloodied your coat in your struggle with Officer Meekins. If someone was in the security room when I came out, the jig would have been up. Open my locker and stash it in there. What was Officer Meekins doing during that time? What else? He was sleeping like a baby. So what you're saying is, on that day, there wasn't any murder in that evidence room at 5:15. But the blood found at the scene certainly indicates a crime took place. What are you, blind? The victim shown on that tape is me, and I'm not dead yet, partner. So you stole the evidence from the locker? Actually, no, I didn't. Why not? When I opened the locker, the evidence was already gone. What? Mr. Edgeworth, where is that evidence? It's still missing, Your Honor. Detective Goodman's locker was already empty. Someone else stole the evidence. Officer Marshall, may I ask you one thing? Fire away, partner. It's a free country. Just remember, I'm also free to decide whether or not to answer. Why'd you do this? Stealing a detective's ID, injuring a police officer. This is no small offense. Moreover, you're an officer yourself. This will have serious consequences. It can't just be forgiven with a simple cut in salary. Not that salary cuts are ever a valid solution. ... Like I said, this isn't your case. This one is mine. And I'll do anything it takes to get an answer I'm satisfied with. The witness has an unusual amount of zeal. Let's hear more. Alright. Can't just forget the SL9 incident. You know why? Yeah, I actually do know why, in fact. But that case was solved 2 years ago, wasn't it? That's the reason the evidence was stored in the evidence room. Joe Dark was convicted for those crimes. One thing I can say for sure, he deserved his sentence. I remember the Joe Dark case. Wait a second, I'm confused though. Assuming that is a different evidence room, because if they clear out the 2-year-old evidence from that room that's been solved, then why wasn't the Mia Fey murder stored in that evidence room, since that murder was solved? It was a solved murder. We got Mr. Red White convicted of a murder right there. So why was it in the unsolved evidence room? Or I mean, actually, technically, we never even... I take that back, though. We technically never did see Mia's report there. But, I mean, Maya was speculating that it was in there. So, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, maybe it was in there. In which case, why was it in there with the incomplete cases, like DL6? That doesn't make any sense. I don't get it. Anyway, whatever. He remembers it. It involved serial murderers, didn't it? I don't intend to complain about how it turned out. But there's something that still bothers me. Something went down at that trial. Something no one will talk about. What happened? I don't know. That's what I'm trying to find out. ... Why is he so concerned with that incident? Maybe I should present him with what I think his real reason is. I had a feeling it would wind up here sooner or later. Everyone involved here is related in some way to that case. I better take another look at the files. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know what we're talking about here, so let's get over there then, shall we? So that's the one. Let's go ahead and save since we're at the end of our pressing things and whatnot. We're at the end of pressing things, so let's go ahead and do this now. I'm pretty sure we're probably going to present the case files, though, but I don't know. You never know, everyone. Let's see now. Let's go. I can't present it. I can't forget it. You know why? Yeah, I do know why. The incident files. Officer Marshall, I think I understand. I think I know why you care so much about the SL9 incident. Hold on a second. They're probably going to ask me, like, Von Karma style. Like, what page is it on or something? It's going to be on the victims page, of course. That's what it's going to be. I'll keep that in mind now. Sounds like you've been sipping too much cactus juice, partner. I have the SL9 incident file here. The name, Marshall, is mentioned in here. Huh. In a list of murder victims. Neil Marshall. Are you related to this man? Neil Marshall? Yeah, I'm sure you've heard the name. 2 years ago. Oh, I see. He received the same lousy prosecutor award you got. What? A prosecutor? He must be talking about the King of Prosecutors award. How did Manfred von Karma not get that award that year? I thought he had a huge string of victories, though. Now I remember. Prosecutor Neil Marshall. He handled the SL9 case before I did. That's right. He was killed. And the case fell into your hands. Well, what's his relation to you? He was my brother. I see. I like how he's also wearing a cowboy hat, though. He was investigating the murders of Damon... with Damon Gant. The murder of Damon Gant, yeah, totally. Chief detective at the time. The group of detectives I was part of worked under them. We were desperate to prosecute the killer. Joe Dark. My brother fought Dark and was killed. That was the first time Dark left behind any evidence. That was all we needed. He was arraigned and incarcerated. The case was finally closed, or at least according to the public records. What do you mean? My brother couldn't have been killed by Joe Dark. I knew my brother better than anyone. No one could have beaten him in a fight. And that's it? That's your reason for your insane actions? There's more to my brother's death than what the records say. No matter how much you try to hide it. You can't fool me. ... Well... At least one thing's for certain. Now we know what happened at the police department on the day of the crime. That was the last day the SL9 case could be reopened. Not satisfied with its resolution, Officer Marshall planned to steal the evidence. Disguising himself as Detective Goodman, he entered the evidence room. Officer Meekins confronted him, so he rendered him unconscious and fled. Yes, this mystery has finally been cleared up. No murder took place at the police department that day. Ah! The things that happened by chance never cease to amaze. At exactly the same time as the murder at the prosecutor's office, this fake murder was going on at the police department. Chance? It's gotta be more than just that. So if no one was murdered at the police department on the day of the crime, that means the murder in the prosecutor's office's parking lot was the real one. Which in turn means only one person could have committed the crime. Chief Prosecutor Lana Sky. But wait! A verdict wasn't reached in yesterday's trial. Which is why we examined the incident at the police department today. But there's only one reason that the defendant was not convicted yesterday. There yet remained the mystery of the simultaneous murder at the police department. Seems to me this boy's got a draw on you, partner. All the mysteries at the police department have been uncovered. No contradictions remain. The murder took place at the prosecutor's office. The only suspect is Lana Sky. There were no errors in the testimony of the witness, Angel Star. If you have a response, make it one word or less. ... Arrgh! I rest my case. It seems this trial has reached its conclusion. There is no room for doubt. Well done, Mr. Wright. Thanks to you, I didn't need to waste my time disproving the alleged murder at the police department. There's no doubt what I proved today is true. That the apparent murder on the security camera's tape really was fake, but I didn't realize that would end up proving Lana guilty. Now then, the time for the verdict has arrived. This court finds the defendant, Lana Sky. Oh, hey there, what's up? Your Honor, wait! Emma? The defense has an objection. A scientific objection. Right? What do you mean, right? Mr. Wright, are you this girl's guardian? Your Honor, in a sense. Please, Your Honor, all I'm asking is for a minute of your time. Please hear me out. Mr. Edgeworth, please. ... I don't want to leave any loose ends. You want a minute? I'll give you 3. Okay, interesting. I guess that's good on you then. I was kind of in shock. I mean, finding out the SL9 incident referred to the Joe Dart killings. Now that she mentions it, the names of both Sky sisters were in that file. But that's when I figured it out. I mean, what Officer Marshall was trying to do that day. So I knew his fingerprint had nothing to do with the crime. That left only one thing, the other handprint. You mean the traces of blood found in Detective Gumshoe's locker? But no fingerprints were found on it, right? No, but I figured if I examined it scientifically, I'd be sure to find a clue. So I ran over there and looked at it again. So did you find something? No. Huh? Sorry, I guess I'm not much of a scientific investigator after all. ... Is that all? Please don't be mad. I'm just a high school student. And I'm just an attorney. But Mr. Wright, those traces of blood are the only clue we have. If we can't find something wrong with them... Please, Mr. Wright, you're a professional. If anyone can save Lana, it's you. Me? Oh boy. Time's up. Now then, Mr. Wright, with regard to the incident at the police department, does any reasonable doubt remain? It appears the defense is troubled by the other blood mark. That is true. Looking at the floor plans, a handprint was discovered around here. Is there a problem with this? Mr. Wright, I'm sorry I can't be of more use. But still, if you can't find anything wrong with that blood mark, Lana will be... Please answer my question, Mr. Wright. We don't have all day. Yes, Your Honor. If ever I've needed to concentrate, it's now. What could be wrong with that handprint in Detective Gumshoe's locker? Could there be something I'm missing? I object? Sure. Yeah, I'll object. Always object, everyone. This handprint left at the crime scene clearly shows a contradiction. The only thing that seems clear is you're grasping, Mr. Wright. You've been staring pretty intently at those floor plans. Tell me, is there a problem with them? ... Yes, this is strange. Take a good look at these floor plans. Something is missing. Missing? You mean something hasn't been drawn on there? Yes, something that when drawn will completely change the meaning of the blood mark. Let us pray the defense isn't simply trying to buy time. Very well, Mr. Wright. With all this evidence here, there's gotta be something I can use. The question is, which item can prove something is missing in the floor plans? Blue Badger, I assume, anyway, but just to be sure, let me go through everything. I don't think there's anything missing here. Ooh, or is it? I don't know, everyone. Yeah, I'll go with Blue Badger. What about that piece of plywood? The Blue Badger, mascot of the police force, defender of truth, guardian of proof. Explain yourself, Mr. Wright. Please look at the floor plans of the crime scene. The Blue Badger is not here. So watch what happens when we put him in. This is where he was dancing at the time of the crime. Well? Well, what? Ha! That's right. So long as the Blue Badger's dancing here, it would be impossible to place a handprint at this spot in the locker. What? Yeah, that was pretty dramatic for Marshall's standards. Jeez. So that means, just exactly what does that mean? Could have stuck his hand behind the Blue Badger, I don't know. It means it can't be done. What are you saying? Blood traces were undeniably found in that locker. Don't look at me, I didn't put it there. Mr. Wright, think through it scientifically. Emma. On that afternoon, Officer Meekins was the one who brought the Blue Badger to the evidence room. Excuse me. To the evidence room, right? After he put it down, it would be impossible to leave a handprint in that locker. So that must mean this blood mark was left there before the Blue Badger was brought in? Just one moment. I will not allow such far-fetched balderdash in my courtroom. It may sound far-fetched, Your Honor, but it's the only possible explanation. On February 21st, in the police department's evidence room, blood was spilled not once, but twice. But how? One time was captured on this tape, taken by the security camera. Officer Meekins cut his hand from which a trivial amount of blood fell. The problem is, the other time... Someone bled prior to the struggle shown on this tape. It had to have been Detective Goodman when he was really murdered. That's ridiculous. I refute you. The murder portrayed in the security tape has been proven to be a fake. However, it does not explain the blood mark found in the locker. So then, assuming this murder you purport really happened, when did it take place? I demand you show evidence that proves it occurred. When did the first incident occur? To surmise, the defense claims that prior to Officer Meekins being cut by Jake Marshall, who was disguised as Detective Goodman, another incident took place in that evidence room. The blood mark in the locker proves this. Very well, then tell us. When did this first incident occur? Proof must be presented. Proof that shows when the murder took place. There's only one piece of evidence that can show that. Now then, will the defense please present its evidence? What shows when the first crime took place? What would show that exactly? I do wonder. The autopsy report, perhaps? That due to loss of blood, one knife wound, died within an hour and a half of 4 p.m. But, that's the thing though. Date and time of death, between 4 p.m. and 5:30 p.m. That would line up with... What would it line up with? It would line up with this, of course. The mystery 77777 number? I do wonder, actually. I do wonder, anyway. Well, I don't know here. Let's see now. Let me just make sure, everyone. I don't know. I feel like there could be multiple possibilities here. It could be this, or it could be the autopsy report. That's what I'm thinking here. But is there anything else that could be a potential evidence to this? Luminal testing, fluid, crime photo, victim shoe, fingerprinting said, the evidence locker. What would that have anything to do with? Comes from a past case, evidence was brought back to his office by Gant's request. I don't think that has anything to do with anything, does it? Probably not, anyway. What shows when the first crime took place? Jar pieced back together. From fragments found at the crime scene, a piece is missing. Does that have anything to do with anything, though? I wonder. I don't know, everyone! I don't know! I'm so confused, really. Yes, I'm not incident files. So, alright. What shows when the first crime took place? So, yeah, let's go with the ID card record. If the crime took place inside the evidence room, then the perpetrator had to have entered the room. In order to do so, an ID card is required. An ID card? Oh, the ID card record. Officer Meekins brought the blue badger panel into the evidence room at, let's see here, 4:50 p.m. If the crime took place before that time, then it would be 4:40 p.m. Miles Edgeworth, just what have you done? I never figured you had a nerve, boy. Put off the act, witness. It doesn't take a lot of thought to figure out it couldn't have been me. Nope, I ain't getting it. I'm afraid I don't understand either. It's clear from the luminal test that blood was there. However, when the second crime took place, both Officer Meekins and Officer Marshall failed to notice the blood. That means the blood from the first crime was wiped away by the real murderer. I would have had just 10 minutes to murder the victim, carry his body away, and clean up the blood. Unfortunately, that's physically impossible. That would mean the crime must have taken place before Mr. Edgeworth entered the evidence room. Let's look at the chart again. There's only one other card number remaining, 77777777. Talk about a lucky number. But wait, that doesn't make sense. How could Officer Goodman have entered the evidence room? Since there's no record of his card being used beforehand, he must have entered along with the real murderer. That's the only plausible explanation. So, does this again make Angel Star the perpetrator? I don't know. I don't know, everyone. I'm confused! He went in with 777777. 777777. Mr. Edgeworth, please look into this ASAP or ASAP, whatever you want to call it. I don't know why I said ASAP. I usually like saying ASAP, actually. Find out whose ID number is 777777. That's 1 7 too many, Your Honor. Unfortunately, I'm unable to look up the owner of that ID card. At least at present. What? Explain yourself, son. The ID card number... the ID number 77777 belongs to someone with a rank of captain or higher. Someone who's a so-called executive officer. We don't have the authority to inquire into such a person's identity. But that's ridiculous. Just how? I'm not finished talking, Mr. Wright. There's one situation in which we can be granted such authority. If an official charge filed against an executive is accepted. An official charge? You're all alike, aren't you? With your cover-ups and your forgeries. That's how the prosecutor's office operates. I take pride in my work, Officer Marshall. I would appreciate it if you would keep your slander to yourself. Slander, is it? Okay. Let me ask a question. Yes? No, not to you. To her, the defendant sitting over there. Your own little executive. Lana? Don't be stupid. She's been charged with murder. Of course we've looked up her ID number. And it's not 777777. Don't play me for a fool, partner. That's not what I meant to ask. That's not what I want to ask. All I want to know is one thing. About that incident. The SL9 incident? Answer me this, Chief Prosecutor. In that trial 2 years ago, did you really only use legitimate evidence? I don't know. Do you need the witness to repeat his question, Chief Prosecutor? I heard him fine, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, I was in charge of the prosecution for that trial. At the time, occasionally, we felt the powerlessness of the law. At least, I did. ... Lana! I became a prosecutor in order to suppress crime with the law. But before I realized it, we were the ones being suppressed by the law. Defendant! Just what are you saying? I'll ask you again, Chief Prosecutor. During that trial 2 years ago, did you really present all the evidence in court? Can you look me, an investigator in that crime, in the eye and say that you did? Chief Prosecutor, you didn't! ... I don't have to, Officer Marshall. Why don't you answer him? Crimes require drastic measures. That's just the way it is. We did what we had to, in order for him to get the verdict he deserved. But Lana! Even if it involved forging evidence. Bomb, bomb, bomb! Yeah, I'm just curious, but why are they both on the witness stand at the same time? See? That's what I'm talking about. No! No! Order! 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 Lana's remarks caused such a stir. The chaos in the courtroom could not be quelled. The conclusion of the trial would have to wait until the following day. To be continued. You don't say, eh? Are we really going to continue this on the next day, perhaps? No, actually, this is the same day, of course. We do things, you know. February 24th, 3:12 p.m. Wright & Co. Law Offices. And, of course, we really will be continuing this on the next day, because I'm ending today's episode, everyone. We will see just what kind of finishing touches we can put in this case tomorrow on the next exciting episode. So, everyone, we got through that court case with only one guilty verdict. Yeah, that's right, everyone, only one. So, everyone, we will probably not figure this out in the next exciting episode, but we're getting closer. We're getting a lot closer to the end of this court case. When is that going to come? I have no idea. When am I going to put the poll up? I have no idea either. I don't know. I don't want to put it up too early. I don't want to be like Skies of Arcadia Legend, where I put it up like 15 episodes before it actually happened, or it actually came to an end. So I don't want to do that again. I'd rather like give it like maybe 3 or 4 days, maybe not 10 or 15 or whatever it was. It's too much. Too many days, everyone. So honestly, I don't know. If I don't see the ending coming, it just catches me off guard. I might honestly just put it up at the end of the series and just go with my original plan and put Zestiria up at the noon time slot for a few days, like I said I was going to. I don't know, everyone. It depends. It really does depend. But we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, though, everyone, on the next exciting episode, we will continue our investigation somehow, some way. We will get our answers. Maybe!